I don't feel like fixing it. Alright. Alright. We're gonna turn the PS4 off. Which means I gotta do this quick, guys. Sorry. Okay, so let's start talking about this a little bit. What do you say? Was this spoiler-free? Yes. Yes, it was. You guys were incredible about that. And I really appreciate that. Alright, music. So, I love the music in this game. It was fantastic. Outside of a few tracks that I didn't like, like the Mementos track and some of the dungeon tracks or palace tracks really were okay, but since you're in them for extended periods of time, it's a little meh. The battle theme, I really enjoyed it, but most of the time you're doing battles way before you get to hear the whole thing, and it's basically the same battle throughout the entire game. I think I would have liked maybe if they had 2 battle themes, not outside of boss themes and stuff like that, but that's just a mini gripe over anything. I do wish that Mementos had something else as well. You spend a significant amount of time in there if you're doing any amount of side stuff, and it just gets a little old after a while. But we made some lyrics to it, so that's okay. So I'm actually going to go ahead and give that a 9. I really love the OST. I could listen to basically almost all the tracks. And I forgot to stop my timer, by the way. Alright, graphics. Okay, so this game oozes style. I haven't played a lot of PS4 games, so I'm not exactly like up to date with what graphics are supposed to look like for the PS4, and I really don't care too much about graphics. What I do care about is how good the game looks and how the world fits around the story and everything else. And this game did that incredibly. Like, I love the art style and the design, and I also love the fact that they had so much attention to detail with the menus and the combat system and everything else. It was just really, really, really well done. Probably one of the best looking games I've played in a long time. Yeah, I can repost the straw poll. Give me a moment. There you go. So, it looked really, really good, and I mean, like I said, it was just really good aesthetically. I like the anime cutscenes in it and everything else. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9. That's probably some of the highest ratings I'm ever gonna give graphics. I mean, it's very close to a 10 for me. There's not a whole lot that I could really say against it or anything else. I don't know that. Oh, I don't know. You know what? When I really think about it, I can't think of a game that I have played or will ever play that's going to be as good as what they did with some of this stuff in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a 10, actually. For at least the system. I'd say that this is probably the best RPG on the PS4/PS3. Alright, story rating. So, the Persona game is kind of hard to rate just the story, because we have the basic story of what's going on, getting caught at the beginning of the game, not knowing what's going on, and then doing that whole storyline up to that point, going inside of palaces, stealing people's treasures, and fixing their hearts. That's the, you know, the main story. But then you've got the story between all the characters and things like that as well. And overall, there was a lot of characters that I found really fun and really enjoyable, and then there were some characters not so much. Sometimes there was a little bit too much of a disconnect between the dungeons and what was going on with the story, because you're doing all the side stuff of spending time with people and things like that. And although that's fine, and you get more story in that regard, that slight detachment from the main story sometimes I can realize would be a turn off to people. But overall, the story was pretty solid. I enjoyed it. There was some stuff I kind of predicted, some ideas I had, but even though I had the ideas that those things might happen, they still did it in a way that I found really well, and really good. So, I liked it. I'm going to go ahead and give that an 8. Probably one of the better games I've played in a long time. It wasn't quite up on the level of Xenogears for me, as how I felt like all the attachment to all the characters and things like that, but 8 to me is incredibly solid. Alright, so the mechanics rating. This is another strong point for this game. Almost everything about this game is really well thought out. Unlike the other Persona games where ranking confidants normally just gets you experience and stuff like that you can have when you're fusing personas, you got actual abilities from other confidants. So it was really worth it to go and talk to everybody and really get to know them. Battles were fluid. Some of them were done basically instantaneously. Every character felt useful, whether I really enjoyed them or not. And every character kind of had their archetype of what they were best at, but they weren't necessarily like stuck doing that. And even though I wasn't a huge fan of Haru outside of the storyline, I really enjoyed her, inside the storyline. I really enjoyed her in battle. She really saved me and basically did a majority of my damage at the end of the game with one of her starting abilities, which I think that's pretty cool. I don't really have many bad things to say about this game other than there's just aspects of it that drag on a little bit. Some of the palaces are just long for the sake of being long. They introduce a mechanic and then you're doing that mechanic again and again and again and again and again and again, and it just does get old after a little bit. When you're unlocking the stuff in the bank, it looks cool and it's interesting to do that, but like when you're going through collecting a whole bunch of tokens to be able to progress through the casino, or doing the rat mazes and stuff like that, that type of stuff just, it wasn't interesting the first time, and it certainly did not continue to be interesting as the game went on. So there were some major highlights to this game, and there was some stuff that they took a little bit too far. But when you're playing a game for over 100 hours, you're going to have a few things like that just don't stick and aren't the greatest for every single person. But I'm going to give the mechanics a 9. They were incredible. The movement around the maps and stuff like that was fluid. The dynamic of being a thief and everything like that and going through the battles, incorporating it there, incorporating it in the real world and everything else, it was really, really, really well done. And I don't know that we're going to see something quite this extravagant in any other game. I mean, like I said, the only thing I can really say about this game is every aspect of it just oozes style. It's incredible. Alright, so the grinding rating. I want to say that I grinded a little bit for money and stuff like that, and inside the castle and the other palace, but I don't think you have to. In fact, I think I was leveling up a lot more at the end. I think you get like catch-up experience or something like that, because I was leveling up really quickly. So I don't think you have to grind in the game, but having decent personas and stuff like that's very important. You could also consider having to talk to some confidants and stuff like that as kind of grinding. I don't think that it's necessary, but it's absolutely helpful. That being said, there is kind of some forced encounters. Even though you can kind of run away and hide from everything and stuff like that, there are instances where you're going to get stuck fighting a fight. And there's a lot of things in the palaces where you've got those forced encounters, and those tend to happen a lot. And they tend to be like the same enemies again and again and again. So that was a little bit of a slog and a grind here and there. So I'm going to say that although I do not think grinding's required, there's some of it's pushed on you. And if you want to have an easier time with bosses and stuff like that, you should definitely do that. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a 7. And keep in mind that I didn't experience everything. There was definitely ways of getting more experience. There was ways of making better personas and stuff like that. And there might have even been other stuff I don't know about in the game with some of the confidants that I didn't get all the way up. So I'm going to give that because I feel like it's something that every player is going to do to some extent. At some point, in some way. Whether it's confidant grinding, social stat grinding, leveling up personas, making new personas. There's some form of time that you're gonna just spend on one task again and again and again and again. So we have to say that there. So my overall rating of the game, I really enjoyed this game. Like I said, there was just a few moments where I felt like it was a slog, but for the most part, if I can sit and play a game for a significant period of time, you know, anything above 4 or 5 hours for me and just keep going and lose track of time, that's saying something. I have not played many games like that in the last 10, 15 years of my life. I could maybe come up with 5, maybe 10 if I really thought about it. So for a new game, above anything, to do that for me, I was really, really happy with it. I really enjoyed it. And even if I were to average out what I get here, I believe that's going to average out to like a 9. And I think that's pretty accurate. This game's definitely going to sit with me. Although many of you guys would replay this game, I don't know that I could re-put 100 hours into a game. But I will tell you this, I'll be watching plenty of videos and stuff like that, of like aspects that I missed. Confidant rankings, confidant stories, what happens if you date any of the other girls and things like that. Just goofy stuff like that, because I am interested. So I will still be absorbing this game to some extent, but I feel like replay value is an important thing in games as well. And because I feel this game has crap tons of replay value, it gets points there, but it's not so much of a replay value thing for me, because I just... putting that much time into it again to get everything, I just can't do that with games anymore. I used to be able to, but I just can't. But that does not mean that I'm not interested. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a 9. Very close to a 10 for me. I would say if I would give 9.5s and stuff like that, it would absolutely be a 9.5. And that leads me to see what you guys picked. Let's see. Let's look at the results. I gotta do a little bit of math here, guys, so bear with me. Wow, you guys are all... Maybe I don't have to do it because you guys are all... I have to do some math at least. Let's see, there's 11, 14 votes. Five. .5 rounds up to 10. Well, I do round stuff up most of the time. It looks like you guys are in agreement with me at the very least. The couple 7s took it down to about an 8, 8.5 or so. So we're going to say you guys gave it a 9 altogether. So I guess you guys kind of agreed with me in that regard, to some extent at least. And will I replay this game? No. A bit too long for me, but we'll watch videos. Alright, so when did we beat this? We beat this on the 16th of October, 2017, and it took us 100 hours, 34 minutes, and 15 seconds. I don't care if we let the timer go on for a little bit longer. It is no longer... Xenoblade Chronicles is no longer the longest game. Our longest game now is Persona 5. Congratulations, Persona 5. You succeeded. Alright. That means that it's Raffle time, guys. Let me log in, let me get it ready. I'll explain the rules again to people that are not aware or do not remember. Alright guys, all you have to do is enter the word raffle, and you have a chance to win. Whoever wins gets to pick the next game that I play. Everyone has equal opportunity, equal chances to win, and there's no limit to the amount of times that you can win. So again, all you have to do is type in the word Raffle. If you win, you get to pick the next game that I play. It's as simple as that. So if you guys enjoy RPGs of any kind, highly recommend it. Alright, Defoe. Gotta enter the word Raffle, and let me make sure I get Nightbot out of here. Nightbot does not need to be in here. Alright, make sure everything else is set up. I'll give you guys a couple minutes. Again, I know I have a lot of people in here that normally lurk and stuff like that, and I love lurkers. I don't really try to call anybody out or anything like that, but just to all of you guys that don't normally type anything, if you do like JRPGs, if that's why you were here in the first place and things like that, I highly recommend just typing the word Raffle. It'll give you a shot. Even if you feel like you want to whisper me what the next game is or something like that, or anything else, you can go ahead and do that. But it's just a chance for everyone to pick their games. So all of you that are waiting a while, you can go ahead and take a look at the list again. And make sure you get your games ready. You got a little bit of time. I'll give you time to pick your game. But again, people can win multiple times in a row. There's no limit to it. I don't think anybody's won 2 times in a row quite yet, but we have had people win multiple times. So that happens. But there's a lot of people here today, so we'll see how it goes. And I always try to do my best to make sure that everyone that I see type it is in, just to verify. I love the other words that we can make. Alright guys, we'll give it about 30 seconds yet. Thanks again for sticking around, and thank you for those of you that have been here for basically the entire run of Persona 5. That was a long game. A very long game. And I know I was pretty silent for majorities of it, where I was trying to think of what to do and stuff like that, so I'm not always the most entertaining person, let's just say that. And all the support's been fantastic. Alright guys, good luck everyone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everyone's gonna say it's rigged no matter what. Congrats, Matthew! Again, here is the list. Go ahead and take a look at that. Plenty of games on there. If you are a JRPG fan, plenty of JRPGs on there. If you were here for Persona, there's plenty of Persona games on there, Shin Megami Tensei games, all that type of stuff. I might be missing stuff too. Please don't think that this list is absolutely 100% perfect. This is a list that was basically created by myself after spending months of doing research and stuff like that on things. And a lot of people have been trying to help me since then, but I still have some time I have to put into it yet. It's not perfect, but we're getting there. And if anybody does want to talk about list suggestions and things like that, or anything else, I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be in the Discord looking at all these spoilers that you guys wrote about. If you can play PSP games, let's go with Yakuza Union. It is kind of a weird game, but I liked it. Okay, is that all it is? Is that what it's called? No other names or anything like that? I think PSP can be emulated. I think. Is that what it's called? Alright. 27. We got... I'll fix that later. And it was picked by Matthew Carter 50. Alright. Oops. It'd help if I spelled it correctly, huh? Oops. I think it's on the list. I remember. Let me double check. Yep. We got lots of games. Yeah, I have it on here twice. Apparently it was for both the Advance and the PlayStation Portable. I'll have to look to see if the versions are different and what's different about them and which one's going to be easier for me to stream. And then I'll go with either or. And it'll probably end up being just one game. So that will knock a game off the list. Because like I said, when I made this list and things like that, I just found the games. I did whatever I need to do. Let's go ahead and highlight this, since this is actually finally beaten. And let's go ahead and highlight this. Alright guys, so as you can see, the next game is going to be Magna Carta, that was picked by Iran. After that, it's going to be... How do you even say that? Yagdra Union? Udra Union? We'll never fight alone? Either way, I have not played either of the two next games, so we're going to be going into them blind. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Thanks for listening to me rant about Persona 5, and thanks for picking the game, Matthew. Yggdrasil. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. To Google, away! Alright, guys, thanks again for all the support. Let me find somebody to host you guys with, and let's see how many people we got here tonight. Maybe we can do some type of raid and mess around with somebody. Show them some support. No problem, Macro. I enjoyed having you around. You definitely make stuff a lot of fun. Alright, let's see who we got streaming tonight. Alright, I think I'm gonna take it easy on myself and I'm gonna go ahead and host Background Guy again. If you're not already familiar with Background Guy, you should be. He's an awesome dude, plays lots of JRPGs, he also does a lot of speedruns and stuff like that. He's very funny, has incredible emotes, and overall, you'll just have a good time while you're spending time there. So, let's stop by, let's say hi, but before we do that, what type of message do we want to send Mr. Background Guy? What do you guys think? What should we send him? We could make like a Persona 5 type reference to him or something like that. Or we could just say something like butts or something, because you know he obviously likes butts. What do you guys think? What should we say? We could definitely say Futaba's best waifu, but I don't think everyone agrees with that, unfortunately. Plus, I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. Thanks, Eltanin. You just missed the raffle, buddy. That's a spoiler too, Lord Krellian. We definitely don't want to spoil it for people that haven't played it. Let's just do this. Alright. That's all we're gonna say. That's the raid message. Let me get you a link to his stream. We'll go in there and I want to see some raid going on, guys. I want to see him get spammed. Again, there's the link to the channel. Go ahead and click that. Get in there. And let me see you guys spam before I send them the host. And the best part about it is you'll never see it coming. If my stuff loads here. But again, Background Guy's an awesome dude. Very fantastic guy. Thanks again, guys. Have a great night.